Buddhist philosophy.
The philosophy of Buddhism, that you would have a particularly enjoyable time. Bringing that back, you said at the start of this podcast your sort of quest for the good life and your interest in philosophy. This is something that you and I haven't really gone into when it comes to philosophy, besides basically Buddhism and Sam.
Yeah.
Where do your sort of interests lie in philosophy?
It's always a funny one, because up until recent times, I wouldn't have considered myself particularly interested in philosophy. I'm not, from an academic sense, I suppose, interested in philosophy per se, but I'm interested in having conversations like this, what it means to live a good life, meditation, you name it. Any topic I'm happy to broach, get into. And so I've been told by a lot of people, oh yeah, you're really philosophical. But I don't particularly think I am, and I've not studied it, it's not something that's of interest as a topic, you know? But I find philosophers interesting, and I find that people that have got interesting things to say, I like to listen to, and connect with. So, yeah, I would just say from that standpoint, that's it really.
It's funny on that point, actually. I was just thinking there that when you say to someone sort of, it's the same as if you say to someone, are you political? It's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be political?
Yeah. Are you into philosophy? I'm not into philosophy, but I'm into philosophical debates, topics, you know, that nature.
And I would argue on that point as well, you could very well be intensely philosophical without even knowing what philosophy is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, not ever touching the surface of it. You only have to watch Forrest Gump to know that this exists. Forrest Gump is probably the most stoic Buddhist philosopher in many respects.
And yet, what is philosophy?
And he has an IQ of probably about 10, or maybe a touch higher than that.
Similar to that of yours.
Yeah, I have to say he's a few points above me on that one. I noticed though, I think you can sort of accidentally become that way.
Yeah.
I think it's just the exploration of your own mind.
Yeah.
I think that's essentially what philosophy is.
And the world around you. Yeah.
Calling on, it's sort of that relationship between you and the world, of being able to call on that and go, how does my inner working correlate or oppose in some respects the world that's around me.
I think having travelled and just seen lots of different ways of life, different religions, you know, societies, societal norms, cultures, you just, I suppose, broaden your, you know, what's around you, your horizon around you. And in doing so, I think that's led me into, you know, the sort of philosophical nature of what it means to live a good life. What am I trying to do in travelling and all of that kind of stuff? But yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with that point.
That's fine, don't worry.
But not being specifically interested in philosophy, but just interested in the world around you.
Interested in asking questions.
Yeah.
I think that,
and having these conversations.
Yeah, I think this is why I'm so passionate about doing this. Is I think there are few tools more useful in your arsenal than being able to ask questions and have a conversation.
Yeah.
I think having a
You
conversation...
do it well.
Yeah, thank you. I think conversation is one of the most important things to cultivate. I think a lot of people are missing the mark when it comes to how much value that they could bring to their lives with conversation.
By having a good conversation.
Getting
off of TikTok for 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly that. I find there are fewer points, as I say, this is why I wanted to do the podcast, so there are fewer points upon which I'm more happy than just having a conversation about interesting things that are worth talking about. I actually had someone come over to me at the park when I was having one of these conversations, and we've sort of developed a bit of a what's the word? Sort of reputation for sitting around that table and talking about a load of shit sometimes.
But do you mean in a good sense or a bad sense? Like
in a good sense.
So you've got a reputation now that when you and that person are together, the conversation immediately, oh, hi, how you doing? Yeah, the weather's shit. Does free will exist?
So what's going on with Israel then?
Yeah. You instantly get into it, and I love that. Yeah,
and I have noticed that there is an element of that to that table where it's like if we're going down there, then the conversation is not going to be.
But it's brilliant.
Yeah, and it is brilliant.
I love that. I love when it's like that.
I can't help. I find that atmosphere infectious. And I noticed that
I sometimes don't even mean to do that or get into that.
No.
You know, I'm feeling happy and lighthearted, and then you sit around that table and you're there for 2 hours and you're talking about all these things, and you leave and you think, fuck me, I feel depressed now. You know?
I don't get that.
Do you not?
No.
Really? See, sometimes, because there's certain topics, like you could broach on the Israel-Palestine thing, it's a depressing topic, it's a depressing thing. You know, much as it, and many other topics are interesting and worth talking about, they're not light-hearted. You know, for me, they sit heavy.
Yeah.
I carry some burden away from those conversations.
But that's a consistent theme in your persona, though. You definitely do take things. You are empathetic enough with the world and everything around you to sort of bear the brunt a lot of the time.
Yeah. I think I feel it more than can't say I feel it more than most people do, but I'll have conversations like that, and it will keep me up at night.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't think that happens to a lot of people.
No.
I mean, you only have to look at your veganism to work this out. That it's a lot of people would not be so sort of passionate about it, or feel the need
not be able to sleep at night.
Yeah, feel the need to do something about it.
Yeah,
and you did. You do. You practice that.
Yeah, because you're being kept awake.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh my gosh, how can I get up tomorrow and
eat a burger?
Do the same thing I was doing yesterday.
I have to say, I don't.
And yet, I love the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I do notice there are certain conversations where I can go there and it's not necessarily the best place for me to go. But I notice in large part, I have such an enjoyment of conversation. There are fewer times where I will be more happy than just talking. If I can find a place to be quite frank, if we were to take any element of looking into the future and working out where am I going to be, what saving do I need to do, what this sort of that forward thinking mind, if I was to become the most stoic of Buddhists, let's say, my best day would be a nice sunny day, go for a walk, grab a coffee with a friend, go and sit on a bench somewhere and talk.
Yeah,
that would
much
be
the same for me.
And then quite possibly, to be honest, in the evening, then go and find somewhere to sit and have a pint and talk
and have another conversation.
That's the extent, and I think it's a lost art in many respects, and I think a lot of people don't talk. I really believe that there are few people who aren't capable of, if you're willing to sort of probe, where they don't have that element to them. I think everyone's got something they could talk about for hours. And even, this is something you and I have spoken about, there are certain sections of our society where it seems as though conversation has eluded them entirely for their entire lives. I do think even then, I think everyone has a passion that you can burrow into. And I love that.